Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. On today's episode, Moshe and I are wrapping up our series on AI and product management. I think we learned a lot on these episodes we've had, so looking forward to chatting about it with Moshe. How you doing?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
An interesting thing that I just noticed is that on the invite to this episode recording that I sent you, instead of writing AI wrap up, I wrote AI warm up. So
There you go.
I feel we're only started.
Yeah, we are. We already are. We were warming up before the show and warming up on a weekend morning here with some AI talk.
Not just that, I think AI is just warming up in general, and
It
it's
is.
just the
It is just
beginning.
warming up in general.
And
So,
another thought that I had about it is that I actually realized this week, after doing all of the recording, all of those sessions, that in the past, the different series that we did were for specific tools that solved
mhm.
a specific problem. This one, we did just the generic AI tools.
Yeah,
And we kind of, I think, fell into the same trap that everyone is falling, putting AI under the same umbrella. Like it's AI or something else,
yeah.
where it's really the technology is AI, but the problems we're trying to solve and the solutions using AI are quite different. So
Right.
I
I think
felt
that
we fell into that trap with this series.
I think so as well. And I think that's part of like the vibe coding thing. It's like what tool should I use? What should I work on? It's not really getting to the core of like what am I trying to solve? And what I'm afraid with some of the vibe coding stuff, at least that I've experienced trying to do some things, it's like you're trying to make something and it doesn't work out, then you move on to something else, and it's like they call it AI slop. You might have seen that
Mhm.
with images and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's like, are we just producing a bunch of stuff and not really actually solving
Yes,
anything?
yes. And on top of that, another thought that I had was about the name vibe coding. We
Mm.
talked a lot in the series about vibe coding. We are already diving into this without even introducing what we're going to
What
talk
were you
about
even talking
today. But
about?
this is the fun of this because we are just talking about the AI so much in the past few years
Hmm.
that we feel like we just continue the discussion. We're not
Yeah.
starting
E-
something new.
yeah, and even though we're wrapping up the series, it's going to come up on the next episodes that we record. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think it's
that's
going to go anywhere. So,
That's why it's just a warm up.
yeah.
But the other thought was vibe coding, and I think in the episode with Adil, he kind of broke it down nicely. But I think that the name vibe coding is also not only that it's a bit misleading to many people that they can actually get good results from it, but
Yeah.
also there are different types of vibe coding for different type of users and
Hmm.
different type of results and interactions.
Right.
So what I'm talking about is it's really prompt, it's AI enable or AI assistant coding
Hmm.
using prompt. But if the user is a developer, then it's a very different type of vibe coding and different type of
Absolutely.
yeah, and different
Yeah.
type of tools than if the
Hmm.
user is a product manager. So
Yes.
the term vibe coding, now I found myself start, asking people who are you talking about that is using this and what's the use case?
Right.
Because the term itself is just misused across all of those different type of users. And then of
Hmm.
course there is the designers that are building a design also with vibe coding. So maybe we should come up with some new terms. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure. I know, maybe it was Sonny where we were talking about prompt engineering, where it should be called context engineering.
Mm,
Because we kept going back, it has to have context. And,
yes.
talking with Marcos about all the work he's doing with Clear Framework and giving it all the context ahead of time.
Hmm.
And even on the vibe coding note, like, I don't know, it sounds like you're just sitting there doing something for hours on end, and then you come out with some like really cool application. Honestly, it's extremely frustrating as a product manager building some of these things.
Yes.
And I don't have the engineering background. So, like, to your point, maybe as an engineer, you can spend hours and hours vibe coding. as a person that needs an engineer, I need a developer to do some of the back end work. You get to a wall and it's like the AI is like not cutting it. And then your vibe becomes a negative vibe. Has ambiguity, I guess. Like it's,
Yes, yes,
it's good and bad.
yes.
And
You're
in my
right.
experience, using something like Firebase Studio, which really cool, but I get vibes of like negativity. Like I'm like, this is frustrating. And then
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'm so sorry for this experience. It starts apologizing profusely to me. And I'm like, okay, just get it right. Like, I don't know. So
Yeah.
to your point, I think some of the verbiage will change over time.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe this is a call for people to suggest some names. So
Right.
if you hear this episode and you have some names for each one of those type
Yep.
of vibe coding, on top of that, one of the types that I didn't mention, we didn't really talk about it much in the series, but I noticed that as well. No-code platforms like Bubble and other platforms also now enable you to write with prompts,
Hmm.
but they don't really give you code. They give you their interface and their designed product, and the code is all hidden behind the scenes based on their platform. So the
Hmm.
no-code platforms are kind of jumping on this vibe code wagon
Wave. Yeah.
and wave, and they're trying to adopt it to their use case. But it's not vibe coded because
Right.
you're not coding anything. You're creating maybe a product at the end of the day, but
Hmm.
the code itself, you don't have access to it at all. At least with the products we talked about, like Lovable and
Right.
um, Base 44 and Replit and V0 and the others. Even Figma Make. I tried Figma Make on the weekend
Hmm.
and I saw
Yeah.
that it actually create code for you, the front end
Yeah,
code.
it does. Yeah.
So at least those are giving you code, and you can take that code and export it and do something with it outside of their system. But the no-code platforms don't do that. So when I saw they're using the term vibe coding, I was actually pretty upset. But whatever.
Interesting. It's kind of a moat they have where they're trying to protect some of their legacy capabilities potentially, where they
They
don't want you
have,
going off the platform.
yeah, but they have also a big risk
Yeah.
because the big risk is that people will not use their platforms, will just
Right.
use those that are giving them the code and still create a product. And you own the code because you can
Hmm.
export it. Whether it is good code or not, that's a different question.
That's a key component of this because I've heard some feedback from developers where the code, and we talked to someone on these episodes where the code is what is being produced is not quality.
Yes.
And and I'm running through these scenarios with Firebase Studio right now, and it's like it's producing stuff on the back end, and I'm like all the refactoring and redoing of code and updating, and I'm like, this is a lot of technical debt
Yeah.
that then somebody would have to go back and like parse through and understand like, where do I need to optimize this code to actually produce something. So
So then I
it's
think
like,
this is still the consensus. Even with the
yeah,
small number of people that we spoke with, it still seems to be the consensus also out there.
yeah. Hmm.
And this is early 2026. So we'll
Yep.
see how it will be like in 6 months from now or in a year from now. It might
Right.
it might change very quickly.
Certainly can.
Yeah,
Certainly can.
yeah. But what I was thinking to do in this wrap up was maybe take a use case because I was playing with a few of these tools on the weekend.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah. Yep.
and maybe through that experience to talk also, we already mentioned a few of our guests that we have in the series, and
Hmm.
we mentioned a few of the tools that we talked about. But I just tried a few, and and our audience know that those that are follow us for some time that I
Yep.
am the late adopter to AI or more cautious about it.
You've been catching up recently though.
And I've been catching up. So I tried to build something,
Yeah.
and I used a few products that I didn't use in the past. So that
Hmm.
was interesting.
Yep.
I used Stitch, Google Stitch,
Yeah.
and Adir mentioned it.
Sure
He
did.
mentioned it at the end of the episode, and
Yeah.
I was like, he was really impressed by it, and I was like, okay,
Hmm.
let's see what it is. I was
Hmm.
never a big Figma fan, so that's why I was like, I don't want to try Figma Make. Let me start with Stitch right away.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed. I
Right.
was really, really impressed. Mainly because, first of all, it created code as well. So
Hmm.
it didn't create just the design. I didn't know then that Figma Make created the code. I only find out later because I did move to Figma Make on
Yeah.
the weekend, but I will tell you
Yeah.
in a second why. And
Hmm.
that's what you were saying about trying different tools and moving
Yep.
around. It doesn't matter what I was trying to build. It was a mobile app for some mental health
Yeah.
related
Hmm.
thing. Just a pet project that I was thinking about.
Yep.
And I was impressed with the results it gave me. I was impressed also with the number of credits I got. I don't even
Mm.
know how many, but I was expecting all the time that it will stop working because I was on the basic, Google. I do
Hmm.
have a Google account, a paid Google account that I used. I don't remember what is the level that I have, but I got it a few years ago for space
Yep.
mainly.
Yeah.
So
Me as well.
maybe
Me as well.
maybe
That-
because of that, I'm not really sure, but I was able to use it for many, many prompts, even a few
Right.
times that it didn't really create the thing I wanted it to create, but eventually it fixed itself. So I was impressed with that as well. And you know when exactly it stopped working and I didn't have any more credits anymore? When I tried to create a prototype.
Mm.
So once I had maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 pages designed. And even I iterated on a few of them. So, and I
Hmm.
deleted those that I didn't need. And then I told him, okay, now I wanted to create a prototype from that. And then it gave me an error that I don't have any more credits.
You hit the wall.
I hit the wall. So then I was like, okay, let's see if I can take this and put it into Figma and recreate it in Figma and create the prototypes over there.
Hmm.
Because in Figma, you don't have to use Figma Make necessarily. You can use Figma, the basic one.
Yeah.
And with the basic one, I don't need any credits. I can just, create the prototype myself. But because it was images, it wasn't the Figma components. Then
Hmm.
it was just images that I had to import from my export from Stitch, from Google Stitch.
Hmm.
So that was a bit of work. So I tried Figma Make and I wasn't impressed by Figma Make at all.
Mm.
I gave it the images that I downloaded from Stitch and I uploaded it into Figma. And I started with only a couple. I didn't start with everything because I didn't want to overwhelm it.
Hmm.
And also, one of the problems I found with Stitch was that it wasn't consistent across all the pages. So it was
Mm.
even though in the middle, I was building with it, let's build a design system. Like, this is how
Yeah.
I want it to look. And I use this design system for all the new, everything that you're creating, and it was still not doing it. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things with Stitch that I wasn't too
I think
happy.
it's still in beta too.
It's
If I'm
still
not,
in beta, you're
yeah,
right.
it's still in
It's
beta.
still
Yep.
beta.
Yep.
So maybe they will improve that. And also the prototype is in beta.
Hmm.
So I went back to Figma Make, and I wasn't impressed with the results it gave me.
Hmm.
It didn't really understand what I wanted, and after a few times that I fixed it, I was out of credits. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't get very far at all.
Hmm.
And maybe I only designed the first page really.
Wow.
And then I went to Figma and I had, well, that was a little work, so I kind of like stopped that. Um, but I also tried FlutterFlow.
Hmm.
Now, FlutterFlow, for those who don't know, we didn't really talk about FlutterFlow.
Mm.
It's not an AI, it's not a vibe coding product, it's a no-code product for Flutter. And
Hmm.
Flutter is coding language coding platform to develop for both Android and iPhone.
Hmm.
So some developers that want to build, for both natively, they can use Flutter. So FlutterFlow was built on top of that to make it a no-code platform, basically.
Okay.
But it does create Flutter at the back end, I think. They don't really have vibe coding. They do have an AI prompting,
Hmm.
which I don't remember if I saw whether that they call vibe coding as well or not. But also when I tried it, when I gave it a prompt, I was really underwhelmed with the results it
With the
gave.
results of it.
Yeah, so I was like,
Do you know
did
what
it?
model they use?
I'm
Did it
not really
say?
sure. I
A
don't
lot of them
remember.
are using Claude. I mean, I think a lot of
Hmm,
them are using Claude these
maybe,
days. Yeah.
maybe. where Flutter is using, sorry, not Flutter, Stitch. It has a
Stitch
few
it.
options
Okay.
in
Yeah.
there, and the default one was Flash 3.0 Flash, which I guess it's a
Gemini.
Gemini.
It's a
Yeah,
Gemini's
it's a
model. Yeah.
Gemini. Yes,
It's a like fast one.
but the other options you have over there is also Gemini 3 Pro, and you can use banana. What's the name of the banana?
Nana Banana. Yeah. That's
Banana.
probably why your design turned out so well. Because I love like Nana Bananas like well does really
Yeah,
well with
maybe.
images.
I'm not sure. And then they have a few options. I didn't try them, but I kind of like to see them in there that you can um, give it. You can request to give you options for the same prompt, so it doesn't just give you one. You can do three times the options or
Hmm.
something like that. Generate variations, they call it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, so that was really interesting experience on the weekend, playing with all of those things. And then actually I went to base 44
Back to
because I couldn't really create any prototype and I wanted to do
hmm.
something prototype. So base 44, we had, of course, an episode about it with Yaron, and they don't support mobile apps, it's web
Hmm.
apps. But still, I was like, okay, I can do a mock-up of this or a prototype of this in a web app and then test it with users and see what happens. I don't need to develop
Right.
a native app right away, right? And also over there, it was okay. I gave it the designs. I didn't give it the HTML. Maybe if I would have given it the HTML that Gemini created,
Mm.
that Stitch created, maybe that would be better. But I gave it the screenshots.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was like creating things that were similar, but not exactly. Eventually, it knew what I'm talking about, and it actually created that for me, but then I ran out of credits as well.
Yep.
So I have to wait for the next day.
Gotcha.
Um, the next day, I actually didn't have much time. The only thing I tried with the Stitch, I tried to create a prototype then, and it wasn't working very well. It only
Hmm.
took it did some, but it didn't take everything else that we designed together. So it created almost something a little new there as well. And I was like, I don't know why I did that because I highlighted specific
Yeah.
things that we did. So I didn't select everything. I just selected a few things. I said, create a mock prototype from this,
Hmm.
and it still created some new stuff in there. So, it's new, it's beta. I'm sure it will get much better. But if they hear us, this would be my feedback for them.
Feedback.
I already created stuff with it that I liked. Just use that.
Hmm.
Don't try to reinvent for every prompt that I give it.
Yep. I
Yeah.
think your experience calls out again, kind of going back to the vibe coding part of things. You're doing something, you're working on something, and you want to take it somewhere else and work on it some more, and then you start to get resistance. I think like the part of resistance, like I have to use another tool, and then I run out of credits, unless I'm paying for all these different things. But like then I run
Mhm.
out of credits, and then I go back to this other tool, and then it doesn't quite do what I wanted it to do, or what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And then you start to get this like drag.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of it like almost like an airplane flying through the air. You're like at first you're going really quick, and then the drag starts to happen, and then you start to slow down, and then the vibe starts to drop. Then a lot of people could burn out, find a new thing to work on, and so I
Hmm.
think that's like AI is warming up, but I still think that's a big problem that people are
Yeah.
running into.
And maybe that's one of the things we didn't speak about in the past match, and we touched on it even now, and that's the pricing and distribution of credits
Hmm.
and how they are actually, each one of those companies sell those credits, etc. Even if I would, get a license with one of the with one of the levels, some of them are also limited to a number of
Yeah.
credits. So even then, I might have, hit that drag maybe a bit later or
Hmm.
maybe a bit slower, but I would still hit that drag. And it's
Yep.
very hard to tell for each one of them how many credits they're actually using for each one of my prompts.
Right.
So that's also a bit confusing and hard to tell. So from a user experience, we are getting here this, hitting a wall, getting stuck,
Yep.
not knowing how to continue here, which
Yep.
is not a good user experience.
It's not.
Right?
It's not. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I run into it and then you don't know like, is this valuable enough to me to then go to purchase
Mhm.
$20
Yeah.
a month. And
Yeah.
then you have 20 month here, 20 month here, and then before you know it, you're
Yeah.
subscribing to hundreds of dollars of
Exactly.
tools.
Exactly.
And I think in a position where Google is, because I've been, Stitch, Firebase Studio, like I also have a paid account with Google Workspace, but Firebase Studio, I wasn't hitting any walls on some of the work I was doing because it's leveraging Stitch from a UI perspective and then the Firebase on the back end with API setups. So I wasn't hitting any kind of walls. And I don't know if that's just because Google's a $4 trillion company and they just don't really they just want adoption basically, where you have other companies where, they have to limit the amount of usage at scale.
Well,
So
first of all, they are a core producer of LLM. So they have Gemini. So
yes,
Gemini is their own model and they own it. And
true. That's
they
a big
can
component.
decide how to
Distribute.
price and distribute the credits,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Where many of the others are using their models, so they have to pay. There is some type of payment that they have to give. So there, it's a bit of a markup market. In order to reduce their prices or be having more control over their credits, they might have to eventually create their own models.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if Lovable, for example, has that. Do they have their own? I'm sure they have their own models, because of data that they collected on design of different systems. But are they built internally with their own LLMs, or are they built on top of those LLMs?
Right. Right.
Base 44, same story, right?
And they allow you to pick which one you want to use. So then as you pick them, I'm sure they have different, I wonder if they have different components. This
Exactly.
is an interesting topic for sure.
Exactly, exactly. So it becomes a commodity that
Hmm.
I've read somewhere that so far, you know, they are, I should probably look to see, we should look to see what is it these days, and maybe we should
Yeah,
look to find an expert in this area and bring him to the show to
for
tell us a
sure.
bit
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah.
But I've seen an article a few months ago about models of SaaS companies, mainly SaaS companies, that are now using some AI in their product and how they had to change their pricing. And there were like 20 different models in there. So
Right.
I was like, oh my God, this is really becomes very, very complex for pricing because it's not just a subscription. Now it's also those credits. So how do you use those credits? And how do you sell them to your clients as part of your product?
That would be really, really fascinating to have somebody on the show to talk about that because that kind of goes back to the build or buy model. Apple recently has now partnered with Google to use Gemini for their Siri. They made a decision to, partner with somebody versus building it themselves. But do some companies, say, hey, we're going to build this model ourselves and have our own proprietary model, do these things, and then you're not tied to anyone specifically. So, or whether you ultimately tie to somebody and then you're basically having to price to people based upon the pricing you get from the provider. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
my small experience with it was before ChatGPT, where I was a product manager for AI company, building legal tech, and the first versions were based on Watson,
Hmm.
but then we built our own LLM for what we needed, and it wasn't exactly LLM, it was a bit different. It wasn't Gen AI yet, but that doesn't really matter. That aside, our model was also much better working than Watson because it was specifically built for our needs.
Hmm.
So there is that as well, the generic needs versus the specific needs. And we touched on it a bit in one of the episodes.
I think it was Sony. Yeah, a lot of these apps are basically, chat GPT wrappers. It's like, they're wrapped around an API. And, if that API does something that you ultimately don't want in the future, or you don't have access to it in the future, your product dies.
Yeah, yeah,
So they have
exactly.
a lot of power when you wrap. wrap your product around it.
Yeah. So that buy versus build is a really important decision for companies building AI
Hmm.
and deciding, how fast they want to go into business versus what are they giving away when they are buying someone else's AI model. But it doesn't mean that every company will be able to create their own.
Right.
But Sunny also mentioned the different open source models that are much more available, and you can start quite quickly to
Yeah.
create your own, right?
Right. Yeah, I know there's like Hugging Face and Llama was open source. I'm not sure if Meta's going to keep that up, but yeah, there's definitely some models out there. Also, it was great talking to Ava again on privacy. I think that was a good topic because I don't think everybody's thinking about privacy all the time when it comes to what models you're using, what apps they're using
Mhm.
internally especially at enterprise level. So it was good to talk to her again, have her on the show to just kind of dig into that because where I'm using every day, is Microsoft, Copilot because we have that. We have access to it. A lot of people are going to have access to Copilot, but by no means, speaking for myself, is it the best in class when it comes to like what it's producing. So I just think that was a good conversation for us to have as a privacy perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really important topic. So I was glad that we did that
Hmm.
from a user perspective and an enterprise perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Mhm. And then, of course, we had the chat with Stav about Nathan, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
His position in his organization was also very interesting because he's kind of like a lone builder for some solutions in his company.
Hmm.
Almost going back to the days where we didn't have designers and product managers, we just had the engineers. But now this is coming more from someone that has done product management and is still doing product management and has done design and has done everything basically. So it's almost like bringing back the entire circle, right?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
enjoyed speaking to him because one point we had in there is everyone's talking about agentic workflows, AI workflows. It's like not all workflows are AI need to be AI. They're still if-then logic based workflows. So I
Mhm.
think that was a key distinction. I think from the call we had with him, as well as what I'm leaning into and some of the research I'm doing is operational efficiency is like basically table stakes now. Like hey, if I want to do something, if I want to make a poem and I want to do it efficiently, I ask AI to make a poem for me.
Mhm.
But that's like table stakes now. But like I think the future is going to hold is like agentic AI orchestration. Like how do you get AIs to talk to each other? I think that's going to be like the next frontier, or it is the frontier now. You see it in payments, online
It is
payments.
now, and
Yeah.
this is also the back end versus front end,
Hmm.
making the front end to the user simple. So it's not just about efficiency, it's also about how do we make AI not so much in front of everyone all the time that they know it's
Right.
AI, but
Right. Right.
rather it's doing the right things for you, but your interface is still a human interface. And when I'm
Right.
saying human interface, I don't mean you're talking with a person necessarily. What I mean is, well, eventually it will be like humanoids, right?
Yeah.
But but what I'm talking about is like the interface makes sense to you as a human. So
Hmm.
it doesn't, everything has to be a prompt. Prompting is, to me, prompting is not actually the most human interface for every problem in the world.
It's a key distinction. Like we were talking about before the show, is at the end of the day, in the future, even now, where design is going to be critical to where agents will be working behind the scenes to where you're going to be using technology and not even know you're using AI. Like AI is actually completing tasks for you and you don't even know it. And we're experiencing this today and we're not aware of it. But I think at scale, we need to plan for a future where workflows are going to be agent to agent and you as a human are not going to have to prompt that kind of thing.
Hmm.
It's just going to be, it's going to know from based upon your user experience, what you've done in the past, and what your preferences are, where you're not going to have a prompt field and say, hey, go do this thing. It's going to say, I already know based upon, prior experience and prior knowledge of why you're using this application that I can go execute these things for you on your behalf.
Yeah.
And then there's a trust layer there because what I'm doing research on the payments side of things is can an agent make a payment for you on your behalf? And so this is where a lot of it's going. You'll see Google and OpenAI, you can make payments through OpenAI and buy things. It's like, hey, would I trust an agent to make a purchase something for me? And so I think there's a trust layer behind all this as
Yeah.
well.
Yes. When I always love to talk about trust. But what you
Yeah.
said also remind me of something Sunny is talking a lot about on his podcast and in his content, which is about websites these days are not the only place where people go to buy things. They are
Hmm.
going to, through their preferred LLM,
Hmm.
they're doing research what to buy, and then they are also can ask them go and buy it for me. So if your consumer website is not optimized for that,
Yeah.
then they will not find you, and you will lose a lot of business. And it will be really interesting to see where this goes in the future, whether what's a percentage of consumption
Yeah.
is going to happen directly with a website versus through agents.
And I think a key component is that, like we mentioned, is we're talking about it here, we're aware of it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be people are not going to be self-aware of what's happening. So they need to. I think there was a several years back, like Amazon had those buttons that like you put on your fridge if you wanted to order something. And I've started to watch Amazon Prime these days, and it's popping up like, hey, it's showing a commercial and it's saying, do you want to purchase this? You can purchase
Mm.
it on the screen. So, those kinds of things where people are going to be seeing things and like interacting with it and not
Yeah.
necessarily knowing what's happening on the back end. And they
So
shouldn't, they
so let,
shouldn't really,
So
right?
let's talk about humanoids. So let's say in the future you will have a humanoid robot in your home, assisting
Uh-huh.
you, right? And you will talk to it. So for sure, this is going to be AI, that you
Yes.
talk with. But you will forget this is AI because it's just a robot, and it will give it a name, and whatever. And then you will tell it, go and buy for me this, go and buy for me that, and then it will all be agents in its head or connected to some server on the cloud
Hmm.
that will look for the things that you want to buy, and it will do the purchasing for you, right?
Yep. Right.
So that's where the front end design will not be by prompting that you have to write to it and it will need to
Exactly.
understand the context and everything. It will already know the context because you will train it based on it being in your home and
Right.
knowing your what you like, what you don't like, and then just going and do these things for you, right?
Yep.
That's probably where the world is going to.
Yeah, and if that's dystopian, I don't know. Maybe that's, maybe it lessens agency over your as a human. Like you don't have as much agency. Maybe like
Mm,
I want to make purchasing decisions myself. Like, hey, don't buy that. Where the AI
mm.
is like, oh, I'm gonna buy this for you. There's gonna be some level maybe,
It
and
will be
maybe that's
like
a
a kid. Let's say that you train your kid over time. What are the things that are good to buy? What are the things that are not good to buy?
true,
Kids also don't know that. So you have to
right?
educate them and you tell them this is a good store because they have these sales or this is a good time of the year to buy this. And over time, they will learn these things and then will know. And it will be
Oh,
based on your parenting style. So why can't a humanoid be exactly the same? You will train it based on your parenting style. So you parent your humanoid for some time. Maybe in size, it will stay always the same, but its brain can change.
and that's had me thinking about personalized models, your own personal LLM, where it's guy
Yeah,
has your variables, it's weighted in preference to you, and then potentially, what if you can move that model around and have
hmm
it kind of live with you?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, we're all producing models. As a child, your model is taking in a lot of information very quickly to understand the world, and as an adult, um, and I don't want to get on a tangent. There was a really cool article on this. I'll share after the show, but that as an adult, your model already knows certain things. It already predicts the future because it's already been in certain
right,
situations. So,
right, exactly. Exactly.
so that's a pretty interesting area.
But this is not necessarily for product managers. So-
But
Although
I think
we are
product needs to
always
plan for these things though,
we
because
have to
ultimately
plan
at the
for
end of the
these
day,
things, yes,
yeah,
but we
because
also, we do hear sometimes worries about how our jobs are changing. What does it mean these days to be a product manager with the involvement of AI, et cetera, et cetera? So I don't know, maybe this will be topics that we will continue for sure talking about them in the future. I think to me, it's all about, first principles of what product management is all about.
mhm,
So if we're forgetting that, then for sure our job will be in danger. You know, I think that most companies also don't know what those first principles are, and therefore they're making these statements or these changes in the organization to make things more efficient or make things different.
mhm.
But if they know what the first principles are, I think that we're still definitely not there yet, and we still need product managers.
Right. That's right. And I think that as a product manager, I think these topics are important because I think this is going to open up new opportunities and it's going to open up new markets and new business models. And I think as a product manager, you need to be focused on not just we can build a product to do this. It's like I need to understand like the business functionality around it from a pricing, packaging, profit loss, how does this make the business more valuable? So I think AI efficiency makes you capable of doing those things more strategically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing. What else? I think there is always more things to talk about in AI and the tools.
Yeah.
But I think that we had a good coverage over there of the agentic AI and vibe coding, and I'm
Right.
doing some air quotes over here for those that can't see us right now. And
Yep.
And I enjoy this series a lot. Meeting new people like always, but
Yeah.
also learning about where things are moving and what's going on out there, and then try things out. I There is still a lot of things that I should try, but I think that we have also a limit to how much we can try eventually, and there are so many things going on these days.
I really enjoyed it. And, it did reaffirm some of the things we've talked about prior to the show when it came to vibe coding and tooling. And it reaffirmed some of the things we had talked about from the, hey, we can get 80% the way there, maybe less, maybe 50% the way there. And then there's still this gap. And I think having some of our co-product managers on these calls and then having like Marcos come in from a engineering perspective to say, hey, I think everybody's seeing this gap between vibe coding and like actual producing quality software. And I think everybody's trying to head to the same point, and it was really cool to talk to everybody about those, what they're seeing, how they're using AI. Elena was using AI in interviews. I think they were using Lovable for product management interviews. So it's
Mhm.
really exciting to see all the different ways people are handling this new emergent market.
Absolutely.
But there's still a long ways to go.
I'm excited to see what will come in the future.
Yeah,
I have no
right.
choice now, even though I'm.
Yes. You resisted long
Yeah, I
enough.
still have resisted, but I'm still,
I
trying
think
it
I think
out.
you and I are meeting more and more in the middle. I think I'm using it every day, but I'm also trying to be skeptic on some of the different ways. I mean, it's exciting, but at the same time, it's like you see a lot of like Claude code talk these days, and hey, product managers need to be using Claude code, and I'm like, are you really sure about that? Like, I don't necessarily believe that. Like, is
Yeah,
it
that's again,
you're missing the point, first
it's
principles.
not, yeah, it's not what product managers need to do.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
yeah, and
Um,
I think a lot of people get distracted by it.
yeah, Lovable, Base 44, Figma Make, yes, but
Hmm.
Claude code or other codes, I think it's too much.
Right. Yeah, because you're gonna get lost down in the details doing that stuff, and then you need to be building partnerships with engineering and developers
Yeah,
to
and it's okay to build prototypes. It's actually
yeah,
absolutely fine, and
totally.
even MVPs, it's fine, but they're throwaways. Don't expect them to be your production product.
Right, right. So hopefully through this series and then our continued conversations, we can continue to lessen the noise and reduce some of the FOMO,
Yes.
fear of missing out. I think there's a
Yes.
there's a level of FOMO in there of hey, oh, should I be using this tool? Should I be
Yes.
using that tool? And then you kind of get analysis paralysis.
Hmm. Absolutely. Amazing.
Wonderful. Well, Moshe, thank you so much. As always, thank you to all the guests we've had on the show, and thank you to all the listeners. And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Thank you, Matt. This was a pleasure as always. And thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye bye.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.